All right, let's test the volume. Let's make sure everything is working. Let's see, turn on the volume. Make sure this is working. Quick audio check. 1 second, everybody. All right, let's test the volume. Perfect. All right, we are good. Cool. Today, we have a subject to deal at 3408 Payne Ave in Indianapolis, 4.25% hybrid deal, which means that there is a loan that we can take over subject to the existing financing. We are not assuming the loan, to be super clear. Let's see. Both 959, 3-bed, 2-bath, 1,300 square feet. Purchase price 184. The underlying mortgage is 156,870. Maturity is 2052. So they bought this in 2022. 10,000 cash to seller. The seller will carry $7,000 of their equity portion. Seller carry payments is 116.67. 5-year balloon on the seller carry. So which means that in 5 years, the rest of the balance is due, less all the payments has been given to date. Doesn't say anything about what that seller finance note is. So I can't tell if there's interest rate or it's actually just principal only. So, all right, let's see what it is. EMD $5,000, TC 1,300, PITI is 1166. I can't tell. The 1166 also includes. So I wish they gave those details a little bit easier. All right. Either way, let's keep going. And who's watching? What's up, Victor? How you doing, man? All right, let's keep going. So today, 4.25%. Let's kind of do a quick look up on Redfin. This is the property. I have not looked at the photos yet, so let's look at it together. Outside looks good. Flooring looks good. Painting looks solid. Carpet looks like it's in decent condition. Bathroom is great. But what is this? I'm not sure you're able to see it, but I don't know why. It looks like there are bubbles forming in the sidewall. I have no idea what that is, but I'm gonna allocate some money for the renovations because you can never tell when you see bubbles like this. You can never tell if for some reason there's a water leak and that's like water puddling. Typically, you might see that on the ceilings, but that's on the side of the wall. I have no idea what's going on there, so I'll just set aside some money in case there is some unknown item there for. And I usually like to repaint the entire house a more light color, anyways, to kind of make it look more bright. Cool. So we got the 185. For the most part, the property looks like it's in pretty good condition. This is a newer roof. What county is this? Is in Marion County. So let's get the FMR, which stands for the fair market rents. When you Google HUD FMR, you'll be able to kind of see the first link on top, and you can scroll down to access smaller FMRs. When you click that, you can click on the state, which is Indianapolis. And then the county is Marion County. And then you will be able to see what the bedroom count and what zip code is in. All right. What zip code is this one? 46226. This is a 3-bedroom property. 46226. So I'm going to take this rent right here at 1580 and this rent at 1910. 1580 and 1910. I'm just going to open up my Excel on the other page and start writing down these numbers because this is going to be important for me to keep track. Not only if I analyze another deal in the same zip code, it'll help me be a little bit more efficient so that I already know I have all the rents that I compare to in the past. 46226, and then I want to make sure I write down the rent, which was 1580. And normally I get the rents for the 4-bedroom as well, so it's 1910 in this scenario. And I get it because sometimes there are opportunities for us to get creative with that extra bedroom count. And if you notice that there is a garage or any sort of fun room, play room that you can turn into an extra bedroom, now all of a sudden you can get a little bit more rent. Okay. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to grab the market rent. If you go to affordablehousing.com, I use this as my quick little hack to determine what the market rents are. You go to the owner section, click on market rent estimator, plug in the address, and then you plug in your bedroom count, which is 3 bedrooms in this case. I will be paying attention to one number, and let's see if this loads. I'm going to be using this number on the far right, where you see that the rent is 1117 for a 0.45 mile radius. So that means for 25 units within a 0.45 mile radius, the average rent for this property is 1117. And I'm going to be using 1117 instead of the FMR that we saw earlier of 1580 as my underwriting rental assumption. Now, you might be thinking, like, why am I doing that? There is a test. It's called the rent reasonableness test. And a rent reasonableness test simply says that you cannot charge a family or a household more rent than what the market is paying simply because they are a voucher holder for the obvious reasons, right? So I am also looking at the rent for a 4-bedroom, and it jumps from 1117 to 1258. It's not like the big significant jump, so you will have to figure out whether or not it's worth that extra $100 cash flow for you to convert like a garage into a bedroom or convert another accessory room. If it was within existing square footage, then that might make sense. But otherwise, converting a garage and getting permits for it, that can get really pricey. That could be like 10, 12, 15, sometimes even 20 grand, just depending on what city and county you're in and depending on what your holding costs are. Okay, so I got my rents, I got my county, I got my HUD FMR. Let me try to figure out what the crime score is for this area. And I usually go to tophap.com, tophap.com. And what I am looking for is when you look up the property and you go to the neighborhood section, you can get the crime index score. This property is a 115, so it's kind of like right in the middle of the road. Not bad. Let me do a quick street view drive-by of this property so I can get to understand the surrounding area. What I'm looking for is just signs of like dilapidated homes. This doesn't look too bad. Sometimes when you see like, I've been to areas of Detroit where there's literally buildings that look like half of them has been blown off like a war zone. And that's never an area that you want to be in. But for the most part, this looks pretty suburban. And you don't see a lot of boarded up homes. You don't see a ton of trash on the streets. It looks pretty suburban for the most part. I don't know this neighborhood as much. Let's see, where are we? Okay, this is pretty far out from downtown Indianapolis. This is really northeast. Okay, so I can see why it's a little bit more suburban. All right, cool. That makes me feel comfortable. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to start plugging in the numbers. I'm going to stop sharing this browser and I'm going to share the Excel file next. Okay. Let's go like this. All right. So this property, let's kind of pull up the deal details there on the far left. Plug in some of these numbers. 184 is the purchase price. Underlying mortgage that we're taking over subject to 156870. Interest rate is 4.25%. There is a seller. There's a $10,000 cash to seller. I'm just going down the list there. Maturity is 2052. So I'm going to assume it was originated in 2022. So I'm going to leave that as is because I already had a random date in there in 2022. My seller carry, cash to seller carry was $7,000. So there is a seller finance note here of $7,000. Cash to seller of $10,000. Seller carry payments is $116. 5-year balloon. $116 each month. So what interest is that? Oh, that's like a 20% interest. Yeah. So I had to play around with the interest rate on the seller carry piece to get to a 116.67 number. So that's pretty close. It's wild. Okay. So it's definitely not a principal only payment. And then my assignment is $10,000. $10,000. My realtor fee is 3680. So that's going to equals my assignment plus 3680. Okay. All right, that's 13,680. EMD of $5,000. Transaction fees 1,300. So I'm just going to include that in the closing costs and leave it there. My PI tie is 1166. So I'm going to do 1166 minus the principal minus the interest. So that's going to equal to 394. I'm going to add another $30 for insurance just in case it's more expensive for insurance policy for an investment property. They're saying the long-term rental estimate is 1325 to 1380. I didn't see that. I saw 1117. Max you can get is probably 1200. So let's just give it 1200 and see what happens. Not a deal. So you can see that $1,200 would result. Let me make sure I got my numbers correctly. Let's lower the property management 8% because before I had 12% for Detroit. And now I'll lower my vacancy to 3% just to be a little bit nicer here. And at 10% maintenance, this is still not a deal. Why? Because I am losing negative $364.97 a month. Now, usually I kind of go through all the different scenarios, but today, even at a slightly higher rent, I'm still losing $365 a month and a negative 13.5% cash on cash return. This was assuming a purchase price of $184,000. And I didn't even do a rehab yet. I just left it at $4,000. I didn't even update a rehab yet. But I'm assuming $4,000 is like pretty close. But yeah, this is not ideal. All right, so we went through all the scenarios, and sometimes I would even try to figure out whether or not we can adjust the number to make it a deal. But this person has already gotten the seller to do a seller finance deal or a combination. That's what you would call a hybrid deal, where you have a piece of the property that is paid out via cash, some cash to seller, you take it over the existing loan subject to, and then you also have the seller finance and equity portion of it. For me, this is not a deal. So there's not much you can do here with the scenarios because the terms seem pretty fixed and it's what's been negotiated and contracted. Now, if I got my max rent at 1580, what would that do? At max rent 1580, the ceiling rent, I'm still losing money. So I will walk away from this deal. This is not a deal for me. And all right, awesome. This was not a solicitation for any investments. This is not an investment advice of any sort. I hope you all are able to just continue staying consistent with me, underwriting deals every single day. We looked at on-market deals, seller finance deals, subject to deals, creative finance, etc. And I have a lot of fun doing this with all of you. So I hope all of you will continue analyzing deals with me, staying consistent with it. And the only way to get better at this is by doing it every single day. And when you build this into your habit, it's going to start feeling weird when you don't analyze a deal every day. So now, at least at the very minimum, if a deal ever came across your plate and slaps you in the face, at least now you can at least recognize it's a deal. And if you ever have partners that will ask you, hey, why do you think this is a deal? Well, I hope you're able to copy the same properties I'm doing the same spreadsheet. You can DM me on Instagram at @InvestWithKenHe. If you do want a copy of the spreadsheet, I have nothing to sell you. I'm doing this because I really want more people to get involved with affordable housing. So thank you all so much for caring about affordable housing. Without people like you, I would have never had the home I grew up in. So thank you so much for caring about this. And let's stay consistent together. We're going to be doing this every single day. I'll be going live even during Christmas because I committed to doing 100 days in a row. And I think today is day 80-ish. So have an amazing night, everybody. And I will talk to you again tomorrow.